everybody. Hi, welcome to Unfiltered Faith. I'm Britt, I'm the mom.
I'm A, I'm the daughter.
And yeah, this is Unfiltered Faith. So today's episode is Meet the Britt. That's me. I'm going to forewarn everybody, I'm a little under the weather today. So I apologize if I'm not 100%. But this was kind of our only day that we could get on the same schedule. So sorry about it. But
I agree.
so what you
So
got
during
for me?
this episode, we're going to be mostly just talking about Britt, she's a mom, she's a daughter, and yeah, she's also a wife. So what I want to start with today is the question of who are you in your own eyes?
Well, I'm gonna probably say first and foremost, I'm mom. I am wife, I am sister, I am daughter, I am all of those things too. And I hold each of those titles very near and dear to my heart. But I'm Britt the mom. When I say that at the beginning of our episodes, like that's all heart. I love being a mother. And I love being a wife, and all of those roles are different, but there was so many parts of my life where being a mom was number one. And so it's just one of those things that's embedded in my soul.
And
For
how
sure.
old are your children?
So I've got 3 children. Blake, he's my oldest. He is 24. Hey, my beautiful daughter. She just turned 21. And Chasers, my little guy who's not little. He's taller than everybody, but he's
Like
19.
6.
Yeah. I also have 2 stepdaughters from my marriage, and they are 18 and 16.
Oh, they're a lot older than I thought they were.
Yeah, yep. They're on the
Wow.
grown up end of the spectrum. So
So what do you think, with all those titles that you do have, what, I shouldn't say favorite one, what one made you mostly who you are today?
mother.
Mother?
Yeah, so I got pregnant with Blake when I was 15. I became a mother at 16. Um, so I never was a grown up without the mother title. I was mother as a child, really. And at the time it didn't feel like that, but that's the reality of it. And so everything that I am is really embedded in that. It really is. And moving into this next phase of my life with grown children has been exceptionally difficult. For that same purpose, I've never just
You've
been
always been
Brittany.
a mother.
Yeah, like every choice that I made, every action I did, jobs I took, everything, it was to try to be the best that I could be for my kids. So kind of shifting into this new era is actually very hard. Very hard. And I don't particularly like it. Like I
I don't
like my kids. Like, yeah, I love them and but I like them. I like them.
right.
And selfishly they make me my best self too. So it's just hard, those adjustments. But
Right.
also without the adjustments, then I can't become grandma. I can't become mother-in-law. I can't become all those other titles that I'm excited for as well. So it's a catch-22 a little bit, I'd say.
Right. So there's 2 questions I've asked you thus far.
Mhm.
Was what makes you who you are today, and who are you besides, and you keep repeating that you are a mother. Who
Mhm.
was Brittany before she got pregnant?
Oh, I was daughter and sister. I was an athlete, it was always kind of funny because my dad was the jock in high school. So I had two older brothers before I came along, and I think I was more of kind of the boy that he envisioned. I played the
Mhm.
sports. I did the basketball and track and volleyball and softball and all of those things. I was just really a typical small town kid. I was a good student. I always got good remarks from, my teachers. My grades showed that. I was never naturally intelligent. I'd always have to work really hard at my grades, but, I did do that. And, then I became a mom and same thing, I gave birth on a Wednesday after 2 days of labor, and I was back in school a week later, after a cesarean section, emergency C-section. So, I think I'm a fighter. I would like to think I'm a fighter. I'd like to think that I'm growing, and as silly as it sounds, I'm 42 now. I think I'm always maturing too, a little bit. So, yeah, just a typical kid, really.
Mhm. And when you say you're a fighter, what are some hard things you have endured thus far since you are 42 now and you have three grown children?
Yeah.
Let's jump right into it.
Okay, let's jump right into it. So obviously I got pregnant in high school, so my high school sweetheart uh would eventually end up being my husband at the age of 20, and then would have two more children. Um but he was well, yeah, let's just jump into it. Very physically abusive. Um as Hay discussed in her episode, he is and was an alcoholic. And anybody who's been there, done that with relationships in their life understand it's a this all the time. And sometimes the highs were great. The highs were great. There were wonderful, wonderful times. But the lows, they were hard. And when I got pregnant, of course, I'm just a child. At the time I didn't realize that, but um I was a daddy's girl. I was the athlete. I was kind of on a pedestal. I got pregnant. I was uh basically just kind of knocked off the pedestal. And that was very devastating. Like I remember getting ready for prom. Um and I couldn't button the little top snap of my prom dress. And he said, "Well, that's what happens when you're a whore." And it's just, and it's hard to talk about those things because him and we're in a really good place. We've healed that part, so it's hard to talk about it, especially so publicly, because it's like I don't want to shame anybody. But it was bad. It was hard, and he was dead set that I was gonna do adoption. My older brother, who I loved very much, abortion. Like this isn't gonna happen. And I knew neither of those options were gonna work for me. And my mother, she had a hard time with it too, but she was more willing to listen to what I needed and wanted. But anyway, my dad made me go to an adoption counselor and try to go that route. And I just remember her very specifically saying, this is never going to work. The relationship is never going to work. And I'm a kid. I'm a teenager. I'm defiant. Like that just goes with the territory in that stage of life. And I was just like, okay, watch this. Um and of course, I had the baby, and he was wonderful and perfect. And I just remember, it's so vivid in my mind because you carry a baby for 9 months, and I just remember at 9 months, that's when the abuse started. And I remember how shocking it was. And then it was like, well, what am I gonna do now? Like I can't tell people this. I can't it, so it was just kind of like this dirty little secret, really and truly. And I remember like I was getting ready in the mirror one time and I had like a bruise on my arm. And of course, nothing ever happened really here. Um, which like at the time it was like I was grateful for that, but that allowed me to keep my secret a lot longer than was healthy. But my mom was like, "Oh, what did you do?" And I remember like panic. Oh, I must have bumped into something, like no big deal. And just, those moments are hard. Um, and actually, because you keep it such a secret, like you don't tell anybody, you don't want anybody to know. And like when I was pregnant with you, you were actually premature, 2 months premature. Uh, the evening before I officially went into labor with you, I got back of my head thrown through a wall. And, I'm sure that contributed to the premature labor. Um, and then you were born and you were in the NICU for 2 months, and that was really, really, really hard. Um, I was very much, I was going to breastfeed. And so, like I went up to the hospital every 2 hours, so I could feed you. And, I had a 5-year-old at home, and it was just a really
Did
stressful
you
time.
like
So Blake, I tried. But again, I'm 16. I go back to school a week later. Um, I could for a few weeks, but then it just didn't. I couldn't do it because, like, I'm still working. Like, I'm working. I'm not. So I'm going to school full time. I'm working full time, and I'm a 16-year-old mom.
right?
Yeah. So no, it just
Let's sum
didn't
it up.
work.
Yeah. So me and Blake are 5 years apart.
Yep.
So she had Blake at 16, me at 21, and Chase at 23.
Correct. Yeah. And then by the time I'm
So she had all
24,
of her kids.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
she was
again,
done.
at the time, it was like, I got this. And now, like, I look at Blake, who is the age that I was when I had 3 small children. I'm going, ah, it blows my mind. But at the time, it didn't feel like that. It just felt like, and then, yeah, so I got married at 20 because I really, really wanted to have another baby. And again, you're keeping all of this under wraps because with it, there's shame, there's guilt. Everybody's already like, you're a failure, you're not going to amount to anything. And anything you can do to hide another aspect of that. And that was, we're unfiltered faith, but that was kind of where, again, I was raised knowing that there's Jesus, there's God. Uh, but at this time I'm going, well, I had sex before I was married. So this is my punishment. These are the things that I deserve because those are the choices that I made. And I convinced myself of that a long time into my life. But it's hard. It was really, really hard.
Right.
And by the time Blake came or you came, I knew that I was wanting to get out and looking at those options. And then I got pregnant with Chase. And he was also premature. Not as premature as you, but a little guy, and came home on, like a breathing monitor. And after another month in the NICU. So yeah, when he was 2, I officially left. Um, and it's one of those decisions where people just don't really understand. So he had gotten, my grandma had passed away, and the day after he had gotten really drunk, and you know, those turn into what those turn into. And I was actually still breastfeeding Chase, but my parents took you and Blake because, it was just getting to be messy. And I had put Chase to bed downstairs to try to, you know, keep what I could out of it. And and he got into, one of those flow
One of his
situations.
things.
And I remember he was on the phone to his dad and basically telling his dad he was going to set the house on fire with us in it, and this was it. And his dad at the time, bless his heart, was like, no, no, Chase is downstairs, don't do that. And I know it was out of a good place, but then he found out that Chase was downstairs, so he went down the stairs to get him. And I remember I still had like dinner on the table, and I had made you guys like noodles or something, and I couldn't get to the top of the stairs fast enough. So I flipped a plate of food kind of like in front of him, and it stopped him long, and it hit the wall and broke, and the food went on the floor, but it stopped him long enough that I could then get in front of him. And well, of course he's gonna overpower me, so we fight physically all the way down the stairs. And I'm, grabbing on his legs, trying to keep him from getting into Chase, who was sound asleep. And I remember I got to my feet long enough and just kind of braced myself in the doorway in front of the door of where Chase was. And he laughed at me, and he just full on like headbutted me. And I was knocked out for a little bit, came to, and I'm bleeding everywhere, and he's kind of got me under his arms, and he's dragging me to the bathroom, and he's mad at me because I'm bleeding on the floor, and my cell phone had been in my pocket. And so I get it out, and I'm also kind of out of it, so I call 911, and he grabs the phone and says, oh no, nothing's wrong, and drapes me into the bathtub so I can bleed in there so I don't make a mess. And I remember him saying, look at what you made me do. Look at what you made me do. And by this time, 911's calling back. So he kind of freaks out and he takes off. Unbeknownst to me at the time, but he went out the door, jumped the fence, and was running. And 911, I was then able to answer the phone. And I don't know what happened, but my dad had like a sixth sense. And we're talking like 11 o'clock at night. So my dad starts heading over to my house. And, well, basically he follows an ambulance to the house. So he comes in, and my nose was broken. So I'm just a bloody mess. So this is the time that my family really finds out. And it's one of those sad, wonderful moments because now it's not a secret. Nothing's a secret. It's obvious. So then I was able to leave. And of course, divorces are messy and stuff, so it wasn't for a little while that it was all said and done, but it's also really hard because once I was out, and again, when you leave a situation like that, you don't really get to leave it. Like when they get to lose that control over you, like I had the heating lines cut in my rental house, and I'm not gonna feed Chase So if you want him fed, you got to come and get him. And then you go and pick him up because, you know, you don't want your child to go hungry. And that's another access to you, basically. So just because you leave those situations, you don't. You don't. And not only do you not get to leave those situations, but now you've left your children in those situations. And it wasn't great before, especially for Blake, but without me there, then my kids started getting abused. Plain and simple, they started getting abused. Like like Chase especially. Um, you know, he got like thrown so hard once that he went through a wall. You want to talk about like deja vu?
Mm-hmm.
And you know,
Yeah.
you called me crying, and so I came and picked the two of you up, and I took him to the ER, and he had a concussion. And on top of that, why don't you get law enforcement involved? Or you you do. You do. Uh but it's almost like it just doesn't matter. It was very strange. I remember one time there was like a restraining order, and I was at work, and he went to pick you guys up at my parents' house, and he wasn't, you know, there was a restraining order. And so I called the cops, and some cops went to the house, and some cops came to me at work, and they're like, well, would he normally pick up the kids there? And I'm like, well, that would be where the kids would be. And they're like, well, this restraining order is for you. So, and I'm like, well, if he takes the kids, he's gonna run with them. And they're like, well, unless he's had contact with you. And I was like, well, he has been text messaging me. And they're like, well, that would be against the restraining order. And I remember the cop laughed, and they're like, oh, you're one of those. You're one of those women. Like, you didn't tell us that up front. You were just waiting to use that against him. And that was kind of always the way it was. Like, I remember he went on like a Facebook Live once, Facebook Live, and told people that he was going to kill me, he was going to kill my dad. He said that he had hired two men to rape me in an alley, and he was going to laugh when he picked up the kids from the hospital. So, like, evidence, right? And I remember my dad and we went to like the state's attorney, and they were like, that's just Travis. He does that. Like, do you really, really think he's going to do that? Yeah. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Like,
Be surprised.
I'm scared. I'm scared. And they were just like, oh, he just does that when he drinks too much. Well, what happens? You know, and
When
I
he does
remember my
it,
dad telling them, you know, he's going to kill her, and I'm going to come back in here. I want to let you know that. And I'm going to look you all in the face. And you get the restraining order. You get the things that you're legally supposed to get. And I got a restraining order that included you guys because he was being abusive to you then. And he would just show up like you had a choir concert, and he just showed up. And that was against the restraining order. And I called the cops, and they were like, well, do you have a copy of your restraining order? This is in the same county, in the same small town where everybody knows everybody. And I said, well, no, I don't have a copy of it, but it's in the system. Well, you have to have that. We can't do anything if you, come on. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, it's just they're not doing their job.
Yeah. And so it's hard. It's really hard. And I never really healed, you know, like the beginning of this, we're talking about what's your you and I say I'm a mom, and you have to leave your kids in those situations. And you find out later, like, the bad that you thought was happening was so much worse than anything that you were prepared for. And there's only so much you can do. And also, I mean, we're talking about, financial abuse, like child support, we have supervised visitations at this time. So when I say I'm a single mom, I'm a single mom. And like he would just go a year and not pay child support. Like that was pretty common. So I'm a single mom. I have 3 jobs. I have 3 active kids. I'm sorry.
No, you're okay.
And it's like the weight of the world. And you bring these children in. And the guilt of I brought these children here. Like I knew before I had you and Chase. And so it's just it's the weight. It's a weight. And, I'm married when I'm 20, I'm divorced by I'm 25. And get into a new relationship. Well, I don't know how to be anything other than what I am. I'm a mom and a wife. That's all I've. So what do? I get married right away. Also a very toxic relationship because I'm not healed by any means. So certain things feel normal, which again are unhealthy.
Wasn't he freshly divorced?
Yep.
Is that what it was?
Yep.
Yeah, I couldn't.
So we're talking about this is my 3rd marriage, there's embarrassment that goes along with that. I mean, my husband, Sean, he's great. I don't think he's ever even raised his voice at me. So
Right.
yeah, he doesn't have that. He doesn't have those tendencies, but
Right. He's I don't know, like pure kind of, you know what I mean when I
yep.
like he's pure. Yeah, like one of those.
Yeah, like there's not a aggressive bone in his body. And
Mm-mm.
so I'm proud to be his wife. Like very proud, but it does go with this other kind of embarrassment that this is my 3rd marriage, So when
Right.
we
But see, there's no embarrassment from anybody else. Like I
you
don't
get
think
those people, who like to talk, and that
right, but you
like when
still
we
like
just
you expect your children.
no,
Your children aren't embarrassed that you've been married 3 times.
no, they're not,
They're
but
just
I am.
glad that you finally found somebody who treats you the way you're supposed to be treated.
Well, yeah, like I am proud to be where I am now. I'm proud to be in the relationship that I'm in now. Uh, but those past mistakes, they're hard. They're hard. And like when we discussed doing this kind of podcast, and again, we discussed way before we started it, what was off limits. And
Right.
when I say I want unfiltered faith, that's what I mean. I
Yeah.
have been a broken person. I have been broken in my faith. I've been broken as a woman. I've been broken as a mom. I've been broken as a daughter. I've been broken as a sister. Like, come here. We're not going to judge
Right.
you. We don't want to judge you. Because Being
Yeah.
judged is hard when you're already dealing with the heart. It's already hard.
Right.
And it's
So what do you, if you had to talk to somebody who's in the same situation, what would you say?
you mean in
'Cause
what
there's
kind of situation? Like teen pregnancy, abuse? What are we talking about?
probably the whole thing. 'Cause you know that there's people out there that are going through one or the other, or maybe even both. You know what I mean?
Well, I think I would start with like a teen mom. I would be more of a
Right.
listener than a talker. I'd have less advice than I would in more of listening ears, just because they get enough people telling them what they should and shouldn't do. Where if they could just have somebody hear them, just hear them. And when you're a teen mom, you're still a teen. You still have immaturities, you have all of those things.
Cool.
Yes, but you are more mature and you feel more
Yeah.
mature. You have adult responsibilities on your plate that your peers do not understand, but you also can't relate to other moms because they're grown-ups. So just be an ear. And if we were talking to somebody who's being abused, your
Mhm.
pride isn't worth it.
Right.
You're,
Right.
you know, and that was it. I didn't want people to know. Because again, they're
I
gonna
mean, I
judge
feel
me.
like,
Like
yeah.
you, first of all, you're not alone, and you get again the police officer is like, well, if you would just leave, if you think it's that easy, because yeah, you can leave, but you leave your children there.
Right.
You leave your children there.
And
And
we were young.
you were very
I
young.
remember that.
You were very, very
Yeah.
young. And again, I'm 24, 25. I have 3
Mhm.
kids. I'm going through a divorce. That there's not a maturity foundation there. So
Right.
it's hard. And the guilt that goes along with it. And it eats you. It eats you from the inside out. And like as we're all growing, you guys are growing and finding out about your story, something I didn't know that was happening. And it's like if I wouldn't have left, would that have been different? If I would have just taken it, would that have been different? And so now, like, when I'm trying to dive into this faith, which I now understand a lot better, that these things didn't happen as a punishment. God is not punishing me. Life happened. And
Right.
God loves me and God is proud of me. But He didn't do this to me. And I also, when you're starting to kind of ask questions and learn things, you're like, well, I'm trying to be a good Christian and this happened to me and this happened to me and this, and it's like, well, what's the point? The point isn't that these things they're gonna happen. This is a life we're living. Things happen. Bad things happen. But having that unconditional love in my faith from God doesn't take away the hard, but it makes it easier to get through. Like, I've had suicidal thoughts. I've been on the floor, curled up in a ball, not sure how I'm gonna do this anymore, or do I even want to do this anymore? God isn't going to take me out of that. God is going to sit with me on that. And at this stage in my life, that has brought me a huge comfort. A huge comfort.
Is there anything else you would like everybody to know about you?
I just really want people to know that we don't want to judge you. We don't want to condemn you. We don't want you to be embarrassed because you have some messy parts. We all have messy parts. We all have messy parts. You know what? If you look on my personal social media, it looks pretty great. Looks like everything is put together. But I struggle. I struggle. You know, we're struggling as a family right now. We've got a cancer diagnosis. And it's not perfect. Nothing is perfect. But it does get better. It does get better. And the idea that after it's all said and done, I can go someplace that there's not illnesses, there's not violence, there's not pain, there's not hunger, there's not stress, there's not any of those really hard weights that sometimes get tied to us. They don't exist. And this is really hard. This life is really hard. And there's a lot of times it's more hard than it's not. But it is a short-lived life. And the idea of having eternity in heaven, I want to get there. I want to get there. The idea of, eventually, hopefully one day being with my kids and my parents and my siblings and my husband and all of these wonderful people without the weight. Well, that sounds pretty great to me.
I would
Really
agree.
great. Yep. And no judgment. No judgment. And I would also love to ask people to work on that. So personally, I have two really, really big roadblocks. And that is judging. From somebody who's been so judged, do you think it would be a lot easier for me not to be judgmental? But I struggle with that. I especially struggle with that when it comes to other mothers. When it's like, how could you do that? How could you do that? But it's something I'm really trying to work on. It's something that I talk to God about a lot. And forgiveness. I suck. I suck at forgiveness. I don't understand. I don't understand forgiveness. How can I forgive somebody and not forget? And how can I forgive somebody and still not be willing to give them access to me in my life? I can't seem to connect the dots on forgiveness. And again, struggle. It's a struggle as I'm learning this faith and I'm learning, God wants us to forgive. And it's my biggest obstacle. But that's what I would like. I would love for our listeners to remember that everybody is fighting a nasty battle in one avenue or another. And my battle is not worse than your battle, and vice versa. And you don't have a single clue. You don't have a single clue what they're going through. You know, when I was in the heart of my abuse and you know, really, really deep into hiding those parts of my life, I stopped crying. There was not going to be tears. I was angry. I was reactive. I was, you know, and if somebody just looking in at the glimpse and not the whole picture, oh, I know there was many people that I was horrible to. Horrible. And I'm not looking for justification, because two wrongs don't make a right, but take sometimes those situations and try to think big picture. You have no idea. You have no idea what's going on. So try to be more understanding and compassionate. And again, something I'm working on all the time.
Oh gosh, I don't even know what to say now.
Yeah, it's just hard. Guilt, mom guilt, mom guilt is hard.
Just to put it out there, we're good. We love our mother.
Yeah, I'm pretty
We're
lucky.
all good over here. What'd you say?
I'm really lucky as far as that goes. I mean, I have really great kids. Again, not perfect, not even close to perfect, but they are good kids, and I'm very blessed.
And her kids actually very much enjoy hanging out with their mother as adults.
Yeah, yeah,
My
yeah.
mother
Having
left me the
those,
other day, and 20 minutes into the drive, I got a call. Should I just turn back around? Yeah, you should. Just turn
yeah,
back around. You don't need to go back.
yeah.
We could live in the same house. We could start a compound.
Yes, this is Haley's new idea, a compound, and I think it's
Compound.
great.
I
I
think
think
it's the
it's a
best idea I've
wonderful.
ever had.
I
Especially
mean,
with like
I'm
everybody
all.
still having kids. Like we just need to find land, split
Yeah,
it,
because that's
start
really
building.
easy to do right now is just to find a piece of land. But
Well, even if it's super expensive, it's in half, so you got to think of like 50% off.
yeah, hmm
That's my girl math.
I like it. I
Thank
like
you.
it.
Thank you.
I am 1,000,000% all about it. You know,
Perfect. I'll set
especially
it
when I'm
up.
a grandma. You know,
Yeah,
yeah, I want
especially.
complete access to my grandchildren. It'll be
Uh,
so fun for me to have little people that are part of me. Golly, maybe I shouldn't have done this when I didn't feel good. A little extra emotional, but having children in my life that are a part of me, that I get to share this healing part of me, this more mature part of who I am now. That's exciting. That's exciting. I do wish I could have
well, let's
had
hope.
that as a mother, but you know, here we are.
Let's see who gives you grandkids.
Oh, you'll be the first to get me
We'll
grandkids. Unless
Yeah,
unless Blake
probably.
decides to marry his significant other, because then I get a built-in grandkid there.
True, and then you get right to them talking.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, now we have full-on conversations.
Yeah, grown-up
Like, you
conversation.
talk back to me.
Yeah, but he's cute as a button, so that works.
He is cute.
Mm-hmm.
He is just a.
It's
What
true.
about your grandpuppy? I have a dog. It could be like your grandkid.
It's weird dynamic too, because it's my dog.
It's our dog.
Okay, I'll take that.
Shared custody.
I'll take that.
Shared custody. It was yours, and then it became mine.
Well, I didn't want to leave you. I didn't want to leave you because we are exceptionally close. So dividing is hard into our own separate lives. But then I was going to leave you and take the dog. That felt really,
The
really,
dog that I'm in love with.
yeah, your emotional
I'm like,
support
okay.
animal. So
Yeah.
it felt like as a mom, that was the right move. Selfishly,
You're
I
like
would have just
very.
taken the dog, but
She's a part of me.
I know that's why I didn't take her. So yeah, any other questions for me? Anything you'd like to leave with our audience before we tap out?
I don't think so, unless you do.
No, I mean, I would like to ask you a question. Is it difficult for you to, one, have a mom who you know I struggled, and I wasn't the healthiest version of myself while you were growing up? And is it also hard for you now as a grown-up seeing me taking those steps forward? Is there any bitterness attached to that? Like, why couldn't you have figured this out a long time ago?
No, not even a little bit.
Good. Is it confusing to
Not,
you?
no.
Good.
I think it might be confusing to the other two,
Well, yeah.
but they're also boys, But you think you did your best. You think that, it was a bit unhealthy, and maybe it was just because that was the normal for us, but I had a great childhood, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't the best childhood because of the opposite parent,
Mhm.
but when we were with you, like, there's nothing. I didn't think you were unhealthy, and now that you are fixing yourself now, there's no resentment, because I know when I bring children to this world, they're gonna have the mom that I know.
Yeah.
Not the mom that you think you are. They're gonna see the mom that I gotta grow up with full time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Without
that's a nice little.
the extra weights.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And
it's nice
you and I
that
have
my
had
kids are
this
gonna.
conversation because you're always like, "Well, I'm your favorite." And again, Haley and I, we are exceptionally close, so we do have a more communicative relationship than again I can have with the boys because, well, they're boys. But like I've always explained to her, if a mother's love for her children is like if you were gonna set up 3 scales, each scale is the same. It's the same weight on each scale. But this scale might have bricks, this scale might have feathers, and this scale might have pencils. The weight is the same, but the look is different. It is different. So to like say you have a favorite that it doesn't really go, it just looks different. Like there's nothing that I wouldn't do for you that I wouldn't do for your brothers or vice versa. But it does look different.
Yeah, but then I went and I put charcoal on my side, so then obviously it's heavier.
Oh, okay. Charcoal. That's what you're gonna change the weight with, huh? Is charcoal. That's an
Coal,
interesting.
not charcoal.
You said charcoal.
Coal.
Oh,
I know
cool.
what I said. I meant
Oh,
cool. I meant the
okay,
train
so
stuff.
it's not my old lady hearing, it's your blondness. Got it.
It's
Okay,
my old
that's a
lady
relief.
necklace.
That's a relief. It's not my elderly self. It's you.
Oh, sorry. I didn't
It's
actually
not
say that.
me.
You just
It's you.
need your hearing aids. Sorry, everybody. She forgot to
You
put them in today.
color hair. I heard just fine. Thank you. All right,
Well,
so we'll probably wrap up this episode, but we really, really appreciate you guys being here. And again, last episode hearing Haley's story, this episode hearing mine. I know we've said it before, but really and truly, we are not here to judge you. If anything, we hope maybe you can join us on this journey of trying to figure it out and be healthier versions of yourself. And while you're doing that, you don't have any need in the world to be curled up on your floor by yourself. You can reach out to us. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. You know, we've got a lot of outlets that you can find us. And you're not a burden with those feelings. You're not a burden with those problems. And you know, who better to talk to than somebody maybe you don't know? You know? So reach out to us anytime, anytime. We're here. We're here to listen. We're here to talk if you want a conversation regarding it, but you do not have to be by yourself. And we'd rather you come along with us on this journey than lay down on the floor instead. So please stick with us because, you know, I read a thing the other day that said something about how people hate each other for no reason. And I think that's very true in our world right now. I can love you with no reason to. I don't have to know you. I don't have to know your story to love you. So we love you. Reach out if you need us because we're here. But for now, we're just two generations.
one honest journey.
All right. Thanks, everybody. So tune in next week. I'm going to be really honest with you. This was heavy and I don't feel good, so I can't even remember what the title of it is. But I'll keep you posted. But yes, love you all. Thank you so much. Say bye, hey.
Bye.